Welcome to the Generation Elevation podcast, a conscious, connected platform for those who are ready to manifest their dream life. I'm your host, Elise Riley, a former PT, now motivational speaker, igniting empowerment and transformation all across the globe. Here at Generation Elevation, we are committed to bringing you the most inspiring guests who will share their stories, wisdom, and advice to help you progress closer to living a life of your own terms. Hello, what is happening, everyone? Today's episode I am super excited about because I wanted to do it a little bit differently. Now, recently I've put out a lot of guest episodes which have been amazing, and I have had some really amazing feedback from them, which I am super grateful for. And I was also really reflecting on what this podcast means to me and why I created it in the first place. What had me inspired to create this platform. And so as I've been thinking about this, the real reason I wanted this out there was to share my story, to share my experience as a 21-year-old living life and just making the most of it, really. And so in the hope that I share my story, that I would inspire yourself, the listener, to go out there, take action on your big goals, spread the love, and be grateful for every single moment in between. And so I thought it'd be a really cool episode idea to share my experience over the past year moving from Melbourne, Victoria in Australia to Gold Coast, so moving interstate, and what my experience has been over the past year. So why did I move in the first place? And I can't actually remember if I've shared this story on my show, but for many other interviews that I've done on other shows, this is something that I speak about very vaguely. And so I'm going to brush on it here, and maybe I go a little bit deeper in another podcast on my life in Melbourne. However, why I moved when I was younger, I mean, every kid in Australia probably wants to move to the Gold Coast because of all the theme parks and things like this. So I definitely think that that was a big motivation for when I was younger. However, I always knew that I would end up here. And as I got older, I believe that it's just the sun, the beach, the atmosphere, the active lifestyle that really drew me to this location, especially because where I am from, Macedon Ranges in Victoria, it's very cold. When I was living there at the time, it, for me, felt like there was either two sides to the population, which was retirees or new families bringing their kids through primary school. So for me, and the vision that I had for myself and what I wanted to create within this world, I just didn't see myself living there for much longer. And all through high school, I kind of had this at the back of my mind. And probably just before 2020 and COVID and all that kind of stuff, I really just knew, yeah, I'm moving to Queensland. I was sitting in a cafe with a group of girls and they were all talking about moving to Gold Coast, which is what most Melburnians do. And I just sat there and I said, oh, I'm going to move to Gold Coast too. And they all kind of looked at me and were like, yeah, right. Because at the time I was running a really successful PT business and I was also in a really amazing relationship that had been quite long term. So it kind of was like, why would you leave? Anyway, long story short, I ended up leaving probably 6 to 8 months later. I was single. I had moved my entire business online. So I was now an online coach doing nutrition and training for people. And I moved across. Now, how did I actually get this place? I just started learning about law of attraction and manifesting and all this kind of stuff. And so a lot of people said to me, Elise, you're never going to find a place in the Gold Coast. You know, the market's crazy, blah, blah, blah. And I just refused to take on their opinions. I said, I don't care what you say. I'm going to manifest it. And so I wrote down my list of everything I wanted, down to the rent, the type of people I want to share a place with. I wanted like what type of house that I wanted, etc., etc. Anyway, and specifically I wrote down, I'm not going to have to look for this place because this person is going to contact me. So if you're actually looking for a place to rent, etc., check out Flatmates. And this podcast is not sponsored. That would be really cool if it was. But Flatmates, honestly, such a vibe. So this guy from Flatmates, he messaged me and said, hey, check out my place. I think you'd be a really good fit. Anyway, on the canals, Burleigh Waters, the exact rent, the exact vibe that I was going for, probably even better than I had imagined for myself. And I just knew that that was it. So literally got ready to go, and a month later I was driving up with my mum all the way to Gold Coast from Melbourne. So that was actually a really beautiful drive. Something that not a lot of people know about me is I have kept a journal of my life since grade 6. And so we got all of my journals, mum and I, and we read them together on the trip up, which was really quite a beautiful experience. I'm really grateful that I have a really amazing relationship with my family, my parents and my younger brother. And yeah, that trip really brought my mum and I closer, especially her getting to, I guess, get an insight of my life from grade 6 up until, you know, going through a major breakup and bullying in high school and all these kinds of things. It was really just such a beautiful drive. I will remember that forever. So once I had moved in and gotten to know my housemate and everything was really great, literally within a week, I had a friend from Melbourne who was actually house sitting the weekend that I moved. So we met up, and his name's Dan. Shout out to Dan if he's listening. He took me to this meditation on the beach. And for me, I'm someone that just says yes to life. Like if something comes up, yes, it's meant to be. All right, let's go. Let's do it. So we go to this thing. Anyway, this beautiful girl, she's running this meditation, and he introduces me to her. Her name's Hillary. Shout out to Hillary. She was my first friend that I made on the Gold Coast. So basically Dan delivered me to Hillary, and since then she's definitely been one of my closest girlfriends up here. And she's into all the spiritual stuff, just like me, so we get along like a house on fire, and it's been really nice to just have her support throughout this entire year, basically. So I met Hillary, and then she actually the next weekend took me to this thing called breathwork. Now, my Melbourne friends, you probably aren't as familiar with breathwork as the Gold Coast people listening, because honestly, when I was living in Melbourne, I had never heard of breathwork before. Like, yes, I heard of meditation, but what the hell is breathwork or Wim Hof? Like, I had no idea. So anyway, I went to this beach thing, and it was with Cool to Be Conscious, and they run some stuff on the beach where you do some connection exercises with random strangers, and then you do some breath work and meditation, which is really beautiful. And I remember just like convulsing in my 10-minute breath work. And it was almost like I was really cold and I wasn't sure, but then I had a tear come out and I was like, okay, this is not just me being cold. So it was just this really crazy release. And I had this beautiful woman put her hand on my heart, one of the facilitators, and just say, like, you need to let go of carrying everyone else's shit. I was like, she didn't say it like that, but you get what I mean. And I just, cried. It was really, really bizarre. So that was my introduction into breath work. And in between this time, I was still online coaching. So it was just really allowing me to be flexible and saying yes to any opportunity that came up. Anyone that I would meet, I would be able to hang out with them and have that flexibility, which just honestly, I am so, so grateful for. And then from there, I really started tapping into my own psychic abilities. Now, if you've actually listened to one of my very first podcasts with Simone DeHaas, I speak to her on how to unlock your own psychic abilities, because we all have this within us. And for me, I've always been a very, very visual person. So I started to really get strong visions, and this experience that I'm about to share with you, I share probably on the podcast I did with Trav, but also the interview on his show too, my experience with him. So I just had this inner knowing that when my friend invited me to go to the Sunshine Coast to see Ziggy Alberts, which is an artist, play live, that I needed to take a separate car. So I took a separate car because I just had this inner knowing, which is like this, it's called claircognizance, that I was going to stay there for more than one night like she was. So we got there, we went to Ziggy, had an awesome time. I went to the Cool to Be Conscious thing the next morning, met my friend Todd, who I knew through everyone back in Melbourne, which was so bizarre. And he actually introduced me to Morgan, who I've also interviewed on my podcast as well. And from there, one of the ladies that I met, Shakira, she was doing Morgan's event as well, invited me to stay at her house for as long as I needed for the entire week. And it was just crazy because I fully trusted the universe. I fully leapt into the unknown and everything just provided for me. Like, being able to stay with Shakira was honestly such a blessing. And to this day, I'm reflecting on this now. I'm like, holy shit, like that was wild. So I stayed with Shakira and we went to a couple of personal development events while I was there. And I remember going to this one event and I sat down and I just saw this man at the other side of the room and I was like, I don't care who I talk to tonight. I'm talking to that man. Anyway, it was Travis, who I've interviewed on my show. I've been on his show, the Technician podcast. So definitely go check those episodes out if you have not already. I sat with Travis and I said, look, we need to hang out tomorrow. So the next day we got coffee and we sat there for a good 3 hours. It was just the coolest conversation. You know, when you meet people and they're just on the same wavelength as you and you're just feeling like such a high energy, these are your people. And anyway, this was that conversation. And we got onto a topic around him being really protective around the people he loved. And anyway, I want to say I don't know, but on a soul level, I do. I actually had a vision of his past life. Now, believe whatever you believe, that's totally fine. And I'm not saying I'm right, you're wrong, but I'm also just maybe enlightening you to different perspectives, different ideas, and who knows, maybe you also have this within you too. I had a vision of Trav's past life as an Aztec warrior, and I explained to him the reason why he felt so protective, and I said that I saw these certain things. Anyway, I opened my eyes because I had my eyes shut in this process. I opened my eyes and he was convulsing. He was crying. This big, like 6-foot, massive guy, like he's huge, and he was just crying. I'm like, oh my gosh, are you okay? And then once he calmed down, he was like, whoa, what did you just do? Like, that was crazy. And it felt so true to him, the words that I spoke about this experience. It really changed the game for him and also for myself, because then I realized, like, holy shit, like I can do that. And so from that experience, I really delved deep into psychic ability, spirituality. I started calling myself an energy ascension coach, and a lot of people had no idea what that meant, but it just felt so true to my being. I let go of a lot of clients from nutrition and training because I hated the fact that I was receiving money from a lot of clients who weren't actually getting results because they weren't doing the things that I was telling them to do. And this is really interesting to note because I want to come back to that point because I've had a lot of reflection since then. So I let go of a lot of clients because I didn't want them to pay me. I felt bad for receiving their money when they were not getting the results that they were paying for. However, that's because they weren't getting seeable results because they weren't doing the things. However, they were also feeling better, which is interesting to note down. So from that, I also then fell into facilitating the ripple effect with Todd and Trav and Rip. I went skydiving, and I also then had Morgan ask me to start emceeing with his events. So I got the opportunity to speak on stages with him, which was amazing. It really boosted my confidence, taught me a lot about speaking on stage and the psychology behind that. And then this is the interesting part. Towards the end of the year, I'm high vibing. Everything is falling into place. Everything's happening for me. And then I get this text message from my housemate asking me to move out within 4 weeks. Now, without going into the nitty-gritty of all the things, basically, I just needed to move out, and there was no if, buts, or maybes. It was a really strange circumstance, and I'm also going to leave it at that because, I also believe everything has happened for me in the end, and I'm really grateful that did happen because I would have stayed longer. So I needed to move out in 4 weeks, and I was like, yep, okay, cool. And then everything kind of just starts happening. I'm pretty sure I got COVID, and then the week I need to move comes up, and I haven't found a place yet. And I'm freaking out. I'm like, holy shit. One thing I could have handled, but 2, 3 things that were just really highly emotional during that week hit me. And I'm like, whoa, that was tough. And I remember calling my parents, crying, and just be like, oh my gosh, I know this is all going to work out, but man, this is really tough. And I remember getting to that day where I literally had packed up all my stuff into my car, 1 carload, and I had no idea where I was going to live. I had an event that weekend, and I was just going to go stay at Hillary's house until I found a place. So I was looking on flatmates constantly, and I was getting really clear on what I wanted as well. So I wrote down my new list of what I wanted, and I said, okay, I want a pool, I want canals, I want this price, I want big windows, plants, crystals, I want garage space, I want to have a wardrobe, I want to have my own bathroom, because at my last place I shared a bathroom and that was a disaster. And I wanted all these things close to the beach, close to the gym. And some of you may be listening thinking, damn, this girl, she is picky. But the more specific you are about what you want, the more likely you are to get it. And so all you need to do is get in the feeling of already receiving that. So I literally was just so happy to leave that house. I went to Hillary's, we were vibing, we were doing all our witchy things and doing our tarot cards and fun stuff. And we went to our personal development event, danced, sang. I was talking about my podcast launching at this time. And then I get a message from this lady in Palm Beach who had the exact space that I had been looking for, and she said, yep, you can move in whenever you like. And so get this place had pool, canals, sauna, my own bathroom, my own wardrobe, exact rent that I wanted to pay, garage space, like a K from the beach, 3Ks from the gym, literally plants and crystals on every single piece of furniture. My favorite artist is Rufus Du Sol, and that was playing when I went to inspect the property, and there was incense everywhere. Like, honestly, just felt like it was too good to be true. And that is pure manifestation in an example. Like, how I'm actually speechless even describing that experience. It was incredible to receive that gift and to know that I created that. So ever since then, I have been living there, and over the past 6 months, I've been doing a lot of coaching with coaches who have been teaching me how to scale my business, how to create a group coaching program, all these kinds of things. So I really niche down, because that's what they tell you to do, to athletes and mindset, because I really got inspired to delve deep into hypnosis, NLP, mindset through the work of Emma Murray. I heard about her a year ago at the same time I learned about Tony Robbins and the stuff that he does. And I just heard what she does and just knew at that time, yes, that is exactly what I want to do. So I was able to sit with Emma and learn and watch what she does. And it was the coolest experience, because as I was watching her work and what she does, I really just felt so much confidence within myself, because a lot of the things she was doing, I do with clients. And that was a really, really cool perspective, because in the past, I would have seen what she does and put her on the biggest pedestal and felt probably insecure within myself, thinking that I could not do this. However, I just saw her and also at the same time saw me. And if you're listening to this and you have someone in your life that maybe is doing exactly what you want to do, and you're looking up to them, changing that perspective to looking over to them instead will honestly shift the way you feel about that person. And you may even then from that point be able to establish a better connection with them, so that they can then teach you what they have done or how they feel, how they've created what they've created, which is really, really beautiful. So I then created this group program that I was going to launch for athletes, and I had that all ready to go. In the meantime, visited Melbourne, surprised my dad, because I had my mum surprise me. I had my friend Monique surprise me up in Gold Coast. So I said, okay, it's time for me to go back home and surprise my dad. So I went and visited my dad, my brother, my mum, the rest of the family over Easter. And it was just so beautiful to be home, see my friends, hang out with everyone. And it was really interesting, because a lot of people were asking me, so like, what's your house like? Are you going to stay there? Are you going to come back home? And I said to them, you know what? From June onwards, I have no idea. I can't vibe what's happening next. I just know that the last 6 months of this year is going to be huge, and I don't think I will be living at Palm Beach anymore. I think I will be somewhere else, and I'm not sure why. Anyway, I get back home from Melbourne and I see my housemate, and she says, look, I've got good news and bad news. I'm moving overseas and I need you to move out. So it was almost like I knew, intuitively I knew that was coming, and it was really cool because I was high vibing that day. And when I received that news, it wasn't like, oh shit, like, why is this happening to me? I knew that this was happening for me. So if you're listening and you ever had what is perceived at the time bad news when you're feeling really good, potentially this is just a reshuffle so that things in your life can shuffle around and create a path of least resistance for you to travel along towards the things in life that you want. So for me, that's exactly what it felt like. And I was really excited because I knew that this next step for me is going to be freaking awesome. So then with the courses that I was doing at the time, they started to end. and it became crunch time where I was about to launch my program. I would do some free seminars, teach people the things that I do and what's going to be involved in my course, and then hopefully get people to be interested enough from that free seminar to jump in with my group coaching. So this is where I'm going to get super authentic and real with you guys, which I'm actually really excited about and quite refreshed, to be honest, to even say this. But I had worked so hard. I was like, all right, I've done this course. I've invested this money into this course. I'm going to do everything they say. I'm going to be so adherent. I'm going to be the A+ student and do X, Y, Z that they tell me to do because I want to get the results. And that's just who I've been ever since high school. So I was doing all the things. I had my email list going. I was doing Facebook. I was doing Instagram. I was even trying to do TikTok for a little bit. And I was just burnt out, tired. I stopped surfing. I stopped doing things that I loved. I stopped hanging out with people because I really wanted to make this work. And so I was spending hours and hours on the computer doing all these things and outreaching, emailing to all these people who weren't replying, and I was getting a lot of resistance, and I was wondering, like, why is this the case? And so it got to the week of where I had my first free seminar booked, and I had a lot of people jump on, which was really exciting. I had a lot of people sign up, and then I received news that my grandfather actually passed away. So I then had booked a quick trip to Melbourne to go to attend the funeral, and this was also the same day that I had scheduled in my free seminar. So I wanted to stay integral because this is all the things they teach you in the personal development courses and things like that. You know, if you say something, you got to stick to your word because otherwise then you're unreliable. And so I made that mean if I cancel on all these people, then I failed them. So I decided, okay, well, I'm going to attend the funeral and then I'll do the seminar later in the day and I'll be able to crush it. It'll be fine. So I then went to Melbourne. I attended my pop's funeral with all my family, and then that evening presented to at least 12 people on an athlete mindset. And to be honest, I actually did a really good job and I had some amazing feedback. However, no one actually bought the program that I was selling. And I had people say, you know, Elise, like you need to just make yourself cheaper. You need to start small, start slow, be realistic, all these types of things. And when these people were telling me this, it just felt so wrong in my being. You know, when someone tells you something and it doesn't feel right within your soul, and that is what it felt like. And I just was so confused. I didn't know, do I charge more because self-love, or do I charge less and then not actually charge what I'm worth? So I was getting confused. Was I trying to take shortcuts? Was I being unrealistic? And I started to have a meltdown, basically. And I asked myself, okay, well, where else in my life am I giving away my time, my energy for free and not being valued for it? Because everyone in that call loved what I had to say. Everyone listening to this podcast loves what I have to say. And I have some really amazing feedback. But where else in my life was I not actually receiving or being like reciprocated energy back? And I was able to take that question and then cut ties, let go of opportunities, let go of people, let go of ideas and things that I thought I wanted to then create space for something new. So this was a huge transformational period for me over the last couple of weeks. I literally called Travis and cried to him for like an hour. And I'm so grateful that he is my friend because he really helped me just figure some things out. And for me, I just have so many ideas. Sometimes I just need to bounce them off something other than a wall. So if you also resonate with this, I journal so much. So if you need to get your thoughts out of your head, journal. If you don't like journaling, do a voice memo. I voice memo to myself. I pretend I'm talking on the phone, but I'm actually just talking to myself and bouncing ideas around. And then if that's not working, bounce your ideas off a trusted friend. And for me, this person was Travis. So shout out to Trav. If you're not in on his podcast, definitely go check him out. So I really had a huge breakthrough because I had a friend ask me, well, what is this actually all about, Elise? Like, why do you want to do this? What do you actually want for yourself? Because when I was in school, the teachers tell you what you want. And so therefore you do X, Y, Z because you think that that's going to get you from A to B to get you what you think you want. And for me, I was told like, yes, you want to be successful, you want to go to uni, you want to have a career and all these types of things. So you want to get an A because if you don't, then that's bad. So I would do everything that teachers would say to get to where I thought I wanted to be. And so when I got to where I thought I wanted to be, I really just sat with it and was like, oh, this isn't what I actually wanted. And I really reflected on my vision. A long time ago, I did a meditation and I had Sexy Back by Justin Timberlake playing in my head. And this was a vision of me standing on stage and my walk-on song was Sexy Back. And I'm speaking to thousands and thousands of people on how to get the most out of life, how to love life, how to have gratitude for each moment and inspire others with that energy. And the people that I'm talking to, it doesn't matter if they're athletes or not. It doesn't matter if they're man, woman, young, old. What matters is that they want to be there, that they want to learn, they want to grow, they want to make the most out of their time here on earth. That is what mattered to me. I wanted to help people that wanted to be the best version of themselves. And so over the past few weeks, I've been getting really clear on what I actually want. And it's been a journey. I must say it's been really interesting to witness things come up, letting go of old beliefs. And I really just want to be authentic with you all that the things that I teach, they're all self-taught. They're all things that I have to go through and learn first for me to then be able to share with you. I would never share with you something that I have not experienced and tried for myself. And this period of time is so exciting because I sat on Burleigh Hill the other night and I meditated and I asked for that clarity that I'd been searching for. And I realized over the past 6 months have really disconnected myself from my soul, what my soul really wants, which is to have fun. Like I stopped surfing, I stopped going out, I stopped having fun because I thought that I needed to do X, Y, Z to get from A to B. But really, all that matters is that you feel good. And that is the number one thing for manifestation. You ask it, you believe it, and then you feel it as if it already is. And for me, it was absolutely impossible for me to be manifesting things during this 6 months because I was not feeling good whatsoever. So that is my story. And you may be wondering, well, Elise, have you got a new place now? Like, have you got something sorted for your next 6 months? And actually, the answer is yes, I do. So the exact price, pool, canals, and location. So this time I'm going to be more south of Gold Coast, so up towards Broad Beach. And I am so excited. This is going to be a really incredible opportunity, and I cannot wait to share the rest of this journey, the rest of this story with you. There's so many little things and stories within stories from the time that I moved up a year ago to this now moment. And I am really excited to share them with you all. And if you enjoyed this episode, if you enjoyed listening to this, whatever this was, like it literally is just a brief overview of what's been happening the past year, then let me know. Really, I would love to hear your feedback, and I would love to hear what you have learned, what you have enjoyed, what you would like to hear more of, because I'm here to serve you. I genuinely, at the end of the day, want to help you become the best version of yourself. I want to elevate your mood in the morning. I want to inspire you. I want to empower you to trust and have absolute faith in the unknown. And hopefully by sharing some of these stories with you today, that you feel a little bit more trusting of not having to know every single detail that comes next. Because for me, that has literally been what this year has been about. And I could never have guessed that it turned out the way it did. And I'm really looking forward to sharing with you and taking you with me throughout this next 6 months of 2022. So if you loved this episode, please share it to a friend, a family member, share it on your social media. The more people that hear about this show, the more people that we can all help, the bigger this community gets, the more likelihood we have of raising the vibration of this planet, raising the mood, having more friendlier rendezvous with others in our experience. So if you liked it, you know what to do. But until next time, lots of love, fam. I'll see you in the next episode.
Thank you for being a part of the Generation Elevation community. If you enjoyed today's episode, make sure to leave a 5-star rating, written review, share, and tag me on Instagram at elise.riley. Until next time, keep loving, keep learning, and keep rising.